My name is Kees Donkers from the city of Eindhoven, from the Brabant Academy. I would like to welcome you here, our international presentation of the subject, the cooperation between Russia and Holland, especially in this celebration year. And we would like to talk about the results of this cooperation from last year. First, I would like to introduce the history that we had already in the cooperation. So that's why I would like to show you some slides to show this, if it's working. And it's not? No. Now it's working. It's a Neru conference, Netherlands-Russia cooperation, since already 3 years. Yesterday we had a Dutch spoken day. It was about the knowledge workshop, hi ROCCO, to have a new identity for this library. Today we'd like to talk about the results of the cooperation. We have a lot of speakers. First I would like to introduce the whole story, the context about the cooperation. Two, we will start with a few speakers, students from Russia. ELENA, she's here already. VIKTORIA, she is from Russia too. And then we will have PHILIPPE ROL and art, and then ROCCO VERDULT to do, let's say, some aspects about social design, about the cooperation, more in concrete results in Geesterberg and Doornakkers, neighborhoods in Eindhoven. And then KONING will react. She is involved in this matter too, especially in the neighborhood of Doornakkers and Geesterberg. After that, we have a dialogue, a sort of discussion here on the table, but it has to be informal. We will do it with 2 people to guide this process, but I guess we have so many people to talk, so that will linger on. And at 4, we would like to stop, have some drinks, but then the second part is maybe more beautiful, because we have a fashion presentation about Russian design. It will be explained by the designer itself, a young girl, talented student from Belarus. So it's not real Russian, but it's Belarus. But she will explain, and you will see some beautiful models from different nationalities. It's about to express our multicultural relationship. And that will linger until, let's say, 5:30. Then we have some drinks, and tonight we have music to start the opening of the exhibition, but also have some music here. I will explain about that more. Well, first a little introduction in Eindhoven. 3 parts to talk about the city itself, 2 parts to talk about the culture that changed the last 20 years, and to talk about the role of design. And the last part will be international cooperation. Here's the word city. Above the word city you see, and behind it you see the photo from outer space, from Europe. And you see that we spend a lot of light here in this region. Belgium, Luxembourg, part of Germany. We spend a lot of light, but it's also a symbol of the energy that's here. When we zoom in, we see that Eindhoven is in between several important regions. Of course, the Randstad, main port, Rotterdam, main airport Amsterdam, but also the Ruhr area close by, 1 hour drive, and also the Belgian cities. We call ourselves Brainport. That's a term we already use for 10 years, and our mayor is the best ambassador to explain what Brainport is. We are the smartest square meter in the world, square kilometer in the world last year, so that declares a lot. But I think what happened the last 20 years is more about the brain field, about the people in the city, especially the students, what they did, what's changed in the city. 20 years ago we were named as an ugly duck. Well, the ugly duck is a beautiful car. It was my first car, but so ugly can be beautiful also. But we changed our identity from an ugly duck into a design pearl, I guess. And we needed this brain field very bad to show this. So we should be aware of the power of the young generations, that what is in this message. So some important facts to know. 1920 we became a big city because 5 villages were connected to the main city, small city Eindhoven. Those villages are now the neighborhoods in the city, and it was of course because of the growing industry of Philips. 1990, also important, we lost the making industry of Philips. It went to lower cost countries, so we had a lot of problems here about unemployment. And also the city was closed, let's say. We didn't grow anymore. We only could dance more, look inside the city. And that happened. The old factory of Philips became empty, and we started to study on this issue. Stripe zone from the center of the city to the Eindhoven airport, let's say. We developed a connection for public transport to reuse it in a better way. But we also found out that we had to reuse the factories. Number 1, the White Lady and surroundings. Number 3, Stripe S, well known now for the Dutch Design Week. And number 5, for instance, Stripe R, Piet Hein Eek. Here you can see what happened in the 20s already. Small scaled in the city. This was built in 1920 by Philips. Huge concrete structure, buildings, and pretty similar to also was built in Russia. And we started to develop, to reuse that in 1994. The moment I was able to start to work for the city on this issue. What Philips wanted was to connect the old factory to the light application center. We developed an urban plan to bring a backbone in that area that was closed till that time, a backbone of new development, of new housing. And this is that backbone, the connection from the inner city, the old factory of Philips, to the football stadium of Philips. As a pedestrian road, let's say. And what we developed was not only the reuse of the White Lady, as you can see here, but also bring in new buildings, and we call it the Red Gentleman. Buildings to live in, because we would like to bring more life into this area. And we also put upright the White Lady, you can say, the first 100-meter high dwelling tower in Eindhoven. And we want to use the identity of the architecture from the 30s. Here you can see the result, built in 1996. And we were going on in this way to condense the city. As you can see here, a second dwelling tower, the reuse of the old office of Philips. And we even started when not only the laborers went away, but also the directors went away to Amsterdam. We thought how to reuse the light tower as the best symbol of Philips in Eindhoven. And now it's the best place to go, in a reused restaurant called Cuisine. And as I said, we lost the making industry, the laborers, we lost the directors, but we kept what I like to call the thinking industry. All the people that invent products, the clever people, they stayed. And they got children, and they also stayed here. And they started to study on the Technical University and Design Academy. And that's why we have this new identity right now. Here you can see the interior of that beautiful place. We built new squares, and this is more or less the symbol of this new identity. Designed by Fuchsas, Italian designer, architect. We also found out that empty factories could bring in a new identity and living too, loft housing. So we redeveloped Stripe S, the third side of Philips, in this idea. Here you can see the old factories and the master plan for that area, Stripe S. And here you can see the result. The reuse of two important, beautiful old factory buildings for living. Anton and Gerard, named after the two first directors of Philips. And what the architect did, Jo Koenen and Bert Dirks, the Eindhoven architects, by the way, they built in a new, let's say, a new way to connect the several stories. For instance, this one. Not only an elevator where you can stand in and not talking to each other. No, they decided to make extra stairs in it. And they are that small, 70 centimeters, so you have to touch each other when you like to pass. So it's an idea to get people more in contact from an architectural point of view. So that's about the changes in the city. About the culture. Well, I started to live here in '78, and I was one of the new generations. Peter is also here, also part of that new generation. And we got kids, but we were the first of that new generation. We started to talk about painting our houses, not 10 different colors white, but do it together. So we started a maintenance fund. And because of that, because it's social cooperation, let's say, in a small neighborhood of 260 row houses, we became a national monument. We made a poster for that. But it was not the only reason to tell you this. It's because we started a debate in the theater nearby about the quality of the city itself. The city of Eindhoven, not only a small neighborhood. First thing we talked about was not to demolish the White Lady, because in the beginning of the 90s, the city wanted to demolish the White Lady. We said it's such an important symbol of our industry, of our history, we should keep it. So the storm that was hanging above the White Lady, it turned away. And we asked young people to think with us. QQV was the debate center once in the month to talk about these issues. For instance, high-rise buildings. We asked students to think with us and to make video clips. Every time it was full house with a lot of people. And even the most important one in the middle, John Habrake, the founder of the Faculty of Architecture at the Technical University, came here. And also Winnie Maas, a young designer, and Maarten Kloos, the godfather from architecture from Amsterdam. Re-arts, books about reuse of architecture. We also went in 1994 to the Ruhr area to tell what's happening in Eindhoven. White Lady, White Village. They wanted to learn from us. Now it's the other way around. The Ruhr area is a beautiful place to go. The city decided to do a project to invite 3 important designers, Mendini, Branzi and Peter Eisenman. I was able to work with Peter Eisenman and 3 talented students. Tom Frans, an architect, QS Serafine is a poet, and Lucien Tinga is a landscape architect. So these 3 disciplines work together on thinking about the new railway station. And Peter came for nothing from New York to Eindhoven to present the results. For free. I mean, normally he is A status to pay for, but now he came for free. And this is the result. Still, the model is at the Faculty of Architecture as a symbol of this, let's say, change. We learned at that moment in 2000 that we could use the relationship between students, between university and city department. And that's why we started to do research in 2002. No, yeah, 2002, to start to collaborate with the university with some money. And the students presented their products in the city hall. So politicians saw about the power of a new generation, about their thoughts, about their out-of-the-box ideas, and they became enthusiastic about this idea. So we started to do a more formal program called E+, plus for the synergy that was in the relationship between Knowledge Institute and city. We started to, in an empty law house close to the city hall, to start a debate like this one about the results. Marianne Scheurs, the alderman, but also Max van Rooij, a famous journalist about architecture from a national newspaper. And it was full house, 300 people inside that empty building. And we decided to do more of these events. For instance, Smalle Haven area. It was finally brought to a result after 15 years. And Jo Koenen came, and 5 generations of aldermen were there to see the results. But we also reused the church bells and the organ from inside to mix it with Kraftwerk music. Coincidence is that Kraftwerk is now in Eindhoven back to play in the Evolution. Last night and tonight. So it is a crazy thing that it happens today. But Lady Ida, as a DJ, she mixed those 2 or 3 different types of music. Beautiful. It's about reuse of music too, to open a new square in the city. We wrote books, of course, about this. But then the money stopped. But we decided we could stop our cooperation, but we also could continue it. So that's why a few people decided to start up the Brabant Academy as a virtual academy to show more results and to continue this cooperation. It was 2009. Not only John Habrake was there, but also, again, Marianne Scheurs, but also Winnie of Adria Geuze, for instance. So the Brabant Academy was a fact and is still there. And we organize as a Brabant Academy also this event. Third part, the role of design. 2005, this small church was also meant to be demolished. It was a time when students from the Design Academy still went away to Amsterdam and Rotterdam. And we said, well, we would like to keep you here because your knowledge is developed here and we like to use your knowledge for the growing of the city. So this small church was reused by Woonbedrijf, by the new director. She helped us in deciding not to demolish this church, but to reuse it. they call themselves the Four Apostelen. Beautiful name, because the city used to be for the Apostelen. And the first thing they did was organize a Last Supper. So a dinner for everybody to invite them during the design week as a Last Supper, to show their different skills. From photographer to product design to food design, they all were there. These are those products that they developed and designed themselves. But they also were the people that showed this beauty themselves. And they were also beautiful. And that's a moment in time when the city was aware of this new identity. So it's becoming an adult, let's say. You see your own beauty and you become aware and you can be proud of it. So that happened at that time, 2005, 2006. So we started to reuse that empty law house as a design house. And Liedewij Edelkoort, the director of the Design Academy, she decided it should be her, let's say, temple, to show the best products of the best students. Even the city council came there to talk about city issues. As you can see here, young designers talking to politicians in the design house, the empty law house. Society and design, for instance, not only about bricks and about products, but also about people. Even about prostitution. We did a project about prostitution in Eindhoven, together with Birgit Maag, a professor from Germany, who worked together with his students. And the results were shown also again in the city hall. For instance, to reuse the top floor of a parking garage as a new red light district. Crazy idea, but we also developed the idea of the tea house, done by students, to talk about behind the door issues for women from abroad, let's say. And we reused the garden in the city during the design week, when all the people came to open the new design house with Alberto Alessi. You can see him here. And the next morning, Sunday morning, he came for a breakfast, let's say, together with young students. And they were invited to reuse empty leftover products or molds of his products, to reuse them. And they went to Milano. It was a moment when we saw that the design week was a very important thing to explore our identity. And I think this is the 10th anniversary was the best moment to see that only people can build and can make the design week, as you can see here. Photos taken from people that are important in our city. And they make some new identity. We used even the stairs in the city hall. And we debated on Sunday morning with the alderman, but also the dean from the faculty and young students. It's called Supervisie Salon. At that time we were finalists in the World Design Capital struggle, you could say, between 50 cities all over the world. Helsinki and Eindhoven were the last two, and we lost. But we found out that international cooperation is very important, so we kept something to continue with. And we started up breeding places for students. For instance, a Lidl was reused as a Lidl Y, named after the director of the Design Academy. And also Little Mountain. They even moved from the street called Little Mountain to Stripe S. We also reused empty factories, as you can see here. And also, this is the best product, Collaboration O. It's a new group of people in another part of the city, not on Stripe. And they work a lot together in this kind of atmosphere. And this was the meeting place for all those talented students. And this maybe was the best ambassador of this reuse idea, as you can see here. Well, this is a short story about the new identity of Eindhoven. Well, something to add to it in a short time, our international cooperation. It started with our twin city, Białystok. We went to that city, poor city, but we started to reuse also a military building in the center of the city. We did together with young students and our alderman, Miriam Scheurs. We went to Milano with the Caravan project to show in 2007 that we can also use the parking lots in the heart of the city instead of hiring expensive places to show our products. This was the last party, only people from Eindhoven in an empty pool. Crazy thing to reuse an empty pool for a party. We also went to Belgrade Design Week, Serbia. We were asked to tell a story about Eindhoven, so we did. And a lot of people, politicians, came there to listen to that story. Also Novi Sad. And this was the first moment that we went to Moscow Design Act. We had a pretty small presentation with ICSI together and other designers from Eindhoven. But this was a sort of a press conference, and it was in the national news that night. So in Russia, national news means a lot. And this was our presentations. For instance, what the girls trailing did was to show lamps from fishing products or sleutelhangers, key hangers from Eiffel Towers, for instance. Crazy products, but the Russians liked it very much. So that's why we started collaborating with Russia. We were invited by the cultural attaché, Dutch guy and living in Moscow, to have dinner with him at his home, typically Dutch, I guess. But we talked about all these issues with him. But also this girl was there to reuse music. She was the one, the first hour I was in Moscow, to reuse empty records, old records, vinyl records. My first one, to reuse it in a new stage, with new rhythms. So the reuse of music. Because of this Moscow Design Act, we were invited 3 weeks later to go to Yekaterinburg, the first Ural Biennial, to show the beauty of these type of buildings. So I fell in love with this building. It's a water tower, 50 years already empty, but it's more like an icon, like our White Lady is. Our White Lady is a symbol of our change in this city. Well, I think this white tower could be a symbol of the change in that city, Yekaterinburg, to show some respect for the old architecture, modernism. It's our family relationship, let's say, in architecture. These buildings too, they look very similar to what happened here in Eindhoven. So we started the project together with students, as you can see here, small lectures, and we started new projects. We also went to Novosibirsk, more to the east, in the cold, -20, -25, during the winter, Petrozavodsk. All about a new identity to show and to work on new identity for Russian projects. For instance, the Pearl, I told you, the water tower, a new life for it. But also history can be sexy again for a new generation. And also dream, okay, but dare and do it tomorrow. For instance, the identity of Russia. We should show some respect for their identity too. And we started up to debate and to start up connecting on Facebook. This was the first group to start a workshop about this issue. 3 days with a lot of results. We have a magazine here about those first results. We made a magazine about it. And we also had certificates, because in Russia certificate is very important. But here are the first results of the students to start up, indeed, dream, dare and do. Start up tomorrow. To use leftover tiles to make a new facade for an empty house that should be reused. So we did this project together with Dutch students from the Technical University, and we went to Yekaterinburg and then to Chelyabinsk to cooperate. We went to Perm. ELENA is here. We met there on an economic forum to talk about our relationship. St. Petersburg last year, New Holland, a beautiful striped S-place in the center of St. Petersburg. A lot of history, but this is an empty spot in the heart of the city. Beautiful place. It should be reused to show that history can be sexy again, as you can see here. So I was able to talk with a girl, and she wrote an article, a page wide, about sexy urbanism. We also went to Krasnoyarsk. The mayor of Krasnoyarsk wanted to get a relationship with our city. That's why we started last year, first Brabant Biennial, to show all these results in an empty church in the city of Eindhoven. Here you can see that starting up process of collaboration and showing results of our work together with Russian people. We did a project last year called Nomad Village with talented students in Holland, Archipri, the best students. And we started up this collaboration in a new phase to show a new identity of this collaboration too. Even John Koning was interested in this type of architecture and reuse in Yekaterinburg. He went there too. But the most beautiful thing, I think, was last year this urban camp space, to reuse the space below the road to have a campsite for during the design week, as you can see here. Beautiful initiative. So now we have the Neru studio. We were able to hire a house from Woonbedrijf in the neighborhood of Doornakkers for students to work and think with us about these issues. And we showed the first results last year, December or January, I think it was, this year, together with the directors of Woonbedrijf. First students from Tubin. And that's why I think that Facebook generation is far more important for us to think with us about their future, because the future for them is 90% of their life. And for, well, let's say people like me, the protest generation in Holland, for us it's only 10%. So we start to debate in a small scale IQ, International Q Cafe, as you can see here. And I think this is the way to explore our relationship on the aspect of knowledge. Well, a bit 2 minutes out of time, but I think this is a short sketch about what happened in our city the last 20 years. Not only in this aspect of losing the Philips industry and replacing it for a new identity, but also build up a new collaboration between students, university, not only in Eindhoven, not only in Brabant, but worldwide, and starting with Russia. So this more about the context, and now we would like to talk about some small results. Well, not the results are small, but we like to tell you in a very quick way about these results. And I would like to ask ELENA to come here. She is from Perm, and she came specially because she went away already. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Wow. My name is ELENA, and I'm here to present my article, which is called Happy New Year, People, which was written here during my short stay in Eindhoven. And first thing that I want to mention about my article is that there is nothing about science. It's only about what I have learned from people, asking the question, listening, looking, and that's it. And it's easy. And that's how the name of the article was invented. We went to a Q Cafe meeting. During some communication, we started to get involved with new people. And someone mentioned that there are so many newcomers and they are so passionate about their new ideas. So maybe we can invite only happy new people in our meetings. And we said, okay, yeah, that could be the rule. And you see how it's easy to invent. It's only about being involved, and there is nothing else. And actually, you can ask me, and what you're talking about, the name on the presentation is absolutely different. And then I went to Russia, I talked to my university colleagues, I participated in a social innovation conference, and also talked with people from business, and we discovered there is much more deep inside of this question. And I hope that after my presentation, everyone said, oh, that's really breaking the walls of individualistic behavior. And let's check. I suspect that everyone in this auditory consider himself or herself as quite educated and developed person. The same do I. But are you ready to share your passion and knowledge with others for free? Let's check. So imagine that you've just graduated from Technical University of Eindhoven and ready to work on the most famous factory in your city, and on the Philips, of course. But are you sure that you're employed because you're brilliant? And then occasionally this factory is moved to the lower cost countries and you are not needed anymore. So it seems that you are in trouble. You can compare this situation to the surfing. When industrial wave is gone, you should deal somehow with it and catch another one. And what are you going to do in this situation? In order to fit and go with the time, you need to create something brand new. But sometimes it seems that everything is already invented. And you should know that the most important invention is people's mind, and it's endless. It has the whole industry inside, the industry of thinking. And such people can create something absolutely new. And in these circumstances, the empty factory is not a place for suffering or unemployment. It's a place for new opportunities, and we're kind of sitting in these new opportunities right now, which was developed almost out of nowhere. So, and I think that it was not only reuse of factory, it was reuse of mind. And with the time, if you're smart enough to understand such a creative opportunities, you can also understand that you are not the smartest person in the world. And here, society reached break-even point when it's developed enough in terms of individuals and ready to communicate effectively. And I think that new values came from the necessity and challenge, new values of support, of sharing knowledge, and the creativity of new generation. And here, And I think that this model is natural because everyone understands this. It's easy to follow because it's only natural. It's not natural to work 24 hours per day and do not spend time with your family, with your friends, do not help anyone. So it should work like this. This model, it's like real natural model for people, I think. And in this atmosphere, if people want to perform the project, like a pilot project for young designers, or project for people with disabilities, or some other projects, it's easy to perform because people can see an examples in the society, they can see successful stories in front of your eyes. Let's go to the simple dimension. Imagine that you start your entity and you don't know about results, how risky it is, how uncertain it is, and you think, okay, I'll just give up. I don't want to do this because I don't know what's gonna happen then, so that's not for me. But here, when you see how it works, it's easier to create follow-up and fit in the society. And for me, very interesting project here in Eindhoven, the Kes mentioned about it already, it's Collaboration O. Because for me, they seems like they created their own business for making profit, of course, but they also unique in the terms of physical space. They communicating, they listening to each other, and the most important thing, they understand each other. So, and I think the most important strength of a new generation is the effective communication. So, and going to Russia, of course, since I'm from that country, I think for now, it's not impossible. It's possible to implement such a project too. Of course, not very fast and not in one day. We're not able to change institution, rules and the stuff. But we can undertake initial steps. We can start by proposing the project and show that it goes from our people, from Russian people, from our generation, with our expertise, which we learned maybe here or some other places. And that's why I think that project performed by my colleagues from Russia about communities, about wooden frames is very important because it fits in Eindhoven, like in Eindhoven air, and it's also provide expertise for Russian students so they can come back and show that they're experts and start to make initiative for Russia as well. And so we can learn, experience and collaborate from each other. And summing up everything, I would love to say that of course only self-developed people can share with each other everything, but you should always discover yourself, because I think that every such a project that performed is just another break in the falling walls of individualistic behavior. That's everything. Yeah, if you have some questions, feel free to ask.
You take the basis of knowledge as drive behind innovation and focus more on knowledge and not so much on technology and design. Yes?
Yeah. And the question is why?
Because it kind of links up to the whole development within art. So I'm trying to think, where do you kind of separate the whole aesthetics debate from the whole notion of new development in art in the conceptualization phase? Yep. So sure. That's why.
Yeah, the most important thing that I'm from economical background, and I was starting to build a model for the society that created from such art initiatives. And I think this is like for the foundation for the future, because if you have not only like regular project that we had during the years, like in the capitalism and the stuff technological and that everyone is familiar with, yeah. So we have a new initiative, so we can create new model for the society. That's how it works in my opinion.
Of course, we do it together, yeah?
Yeah, maybe in the beginning will be.
Okay, yeah.
Some more questions?
No?
Okay, thank you.
maybe somebody can help us with the technology because Vika is the next presenter. We do it together, but she brought a USB presentation, so maybe somebody can help us. Then I will try to introduce her. Meanwhile, you can do this. I hope so. Well, Victoria, she is a tutor from Tumen. And she came here for 3 months to work together with us in that beautiful Neru studio in Doornakkers. And we work together with a lot of students. But she is more or less the constant factor during those 3 months. And maybe you can talk maybe first in words and then maybe also in images about what you did and what you have learned during this period. Is that possible?
So, during all this period. So it was like a really great experience for me about meeting people, talking with them, some new facts, ideas. I mean, some new ideas. And not like to catch us from somebody, but some new ideas become they grown when you talk with somebody from here, and so I feel myself like full of a lot of thoughts, and maybe after I will be back to Russia and I will rethink all of this information, I will come up to some results, some conclusions, yeah. Because now I really am full of all this information, and it's a bit hard for me to talk what I think about all of this. Yeah, but it's really great, and also all these projects, what we did here, it's yeah, it's like, but some kind of other way of thinking for and some other kind of projects, yeah, more social. It's what I like to do, because when I've been in Russia, I started to do my own research. It mostly not about projecting, designing, but more about some also social organization of some social design. Yeah. So this project, what we did here about which name from commune to community.
Yeah. And Geesterberg, also you also did the project of the dachas here. So
yep.
Maybe we could start with that because it's visible here. The dachas, yeah, the reuse of the frames from Geesterberg, the window frames.
But all the
You're like
information.
the first to start. Okay, that's all.
I didn't prepare it here. Just
okay. Maybe I should tell a little bit about the dachas.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we can wait for this. Well, she worked on 2 projects. One of them was the Geesterberg, the reuse of the empty window frame. No, not empty, the leftover window frames. It was brought to us in June, so it's pretty short ago, just before the holidays. We talked about the reuse of the leftover window frames from Geesterberg as a sign to build new dachas, typical Russian. I call it holiday house, but you can explain, you can declare it more in particular if you want to. But that's what they did too, and it's built here, and it took a lot of effort to build it, but it's so beautiful. I like the results outside here, outside this place, in the floor of the library. But you prepared this part, another project we did, and maybe you can start to explain your sheets now.
So maybe first we'll tell about this.
Okay. The idea was, first of all, to do a reuse project, an empty school in Doornakkers, close to the house where you live. And the idea was to reuse an old school for, let's say, a new kind of community. We call it from commune to community. To learn from communes in Holland, the end of the 60s, the wild ideas of living together, the parties with the key parties, they were called, especially in Geesterberg, but also the idea of the commune in Russia. It's more forced commune, the way to live together, but also the romantic aspects in it, to share the bathroom or to share the cooking place, things like that. It's more for you to explain that. But my idea was to bring in the aspect of the 60 plus and 30 minus generations, to let them live together, to use the idea of care for each other. The older generation can look after children, the younger generation can look after, let's say, the way how to communicate, use Facebook and things like that, for instance. So we thought to develop and to discover this idea to reuse an empty school for this 60 plus and 30 minus generations. And Vika worked on this aspect together with other students, Sophie from Switzerland, Sophie STEINEMANN, and ELENA KARKH from Perm, but also the other students from Chelyabinsk that worked here. Maybe you can start to explain what is here in this sheet.
So maybe first I will start with, like, before we did some kind of research of to just for ourselves to understand what community is and how can it work in our usual life. Yes, of course, commune is such a quite common way of living for many people in the world even now, and it's not like something new. But different kind of communes have got different kind of rules, if we can say it in this way. And also, we thought about some kind of problems which we can meet when we start to make this commune. I mean, for example, we decided it can be different ways. For example, first way, if we've got some commune which is already exist, of course it's easy for them to live together. We just give them some new place to live. It's quite easy for them. Other way is when people are forced to live in such conditions because they've got no other way to live. And here we meet a lot of problems because it's quite hard for people sometimes to share a lot of rooms, even maybe because they need some personal space. And what we thought about is about creating some kind of new community in our commune house. So it's like we decided like people who live there, they are not so like forced to live in these conditions like it was, because I'm from Russia and I know some kind of examples from my background. How did people used to live in Russia, in USSR in last century? Yeah, I know some kind of examples and you can read about this in our magazine also. What does mean communal house and something like this? Yeah, how did it work? So we thought like if people will decide to live in such a house commune, it's not like they are forced, they want to live there and they are ready to share. So but first we thought about we've got this building of old school, and so school first mean like also such terms like qualification. So first school is like where people learn how to live. Also, it's about socialization. They learn how to share, how to behave in society. And also it's about identification. So you identify, you find your place in this society. So maybe school, building of all schools, is really good place to play their commune house. This scheme is about what community could be and why it's so. So from the left side about care, it's about care of some other people or care about yourself. Also, it's some kind of about some responsibilities. And share. You can share some property and possessions, share knowledge, and share your time and resources. And this is how community can work. And these both walls, like walls. Can you? So we had this building of old school. This is how it looks like now. Quite good conditions also. We tried to ask why it could be 60 plus and 30 minus community, and decided that of course all the people from different ages can live together. It's so also. Before we did some kind of research, we asked some people from different ages how do they understand these terms like commune house and community, and how do they used to live all these years before, and would they like to live in commune house and something like this. How many personal space do they need? And many of them answered like, yeah, I'm already live in a house with my family, with relatives about 8 or 10, different ages, different generations, something like this. Or, yeah, I did used to live in some kind house of commune, and so they are already experiencing in this. And many of them said, like, of course, it's really good when people of different ages live together. It's not only about sharing knowledge and some resources, also about care and also finance support and some other aspects. About building of a school, it's like scheme of a plan. And so what we decide to do to make a commune, to make new community, is to invert shared and private space. The first scheme is about how it's now. For example, you can see corridor and classrooms. And here is one like a community room. But we decided to invert this space to give more space for community. So all this space is shared room. It's just small corridor we use like a private space for residents. So you can see like we've got some small rooms for private and big rooms in front of this, like semi-private space, which can be inverted also in semi-public space. So, and also big semi-public, and so in some semi-private spaces. Next one. Also, we decided we got this corridor, we got one wall, but we also plus some place a bit more with corridor to use it for storage some possessions or something like this. We a bit make it bigger, I mean, private space. How it works? We've got the main access through all the classrooms, and it's sharing space. But as I told you before, like this small private space, for two owners, two different rooms where you can put your bed. You can also get some small kitchen and shared bathroom with your neighbor, and also store all your possessions. But you've got in front of this space, you've got some kind of semi-private space. If you want, you can close all the doors and you cannot let anybody go in. It's just for you. But if you also, it's like you've got responsibility for this space. It's also, you decide how it would look like. It's about some different kinds of individual spaces in one house. So every resident make it in different way, and they get responsibility for the space. But if they want, they just invite all the other residents from this house commune, and they share all the space together. Or also they can decide, for example, to divide it in small spaces or a bit bigger spaces, just in groups, if they want. I don't know if you see how it works. So yeah, here are some small rooms with bedrooms, and here are some different kinds of room, like with cinema, with some circle tables to play, to do something, some workplace, also some sport hall and kitchen and something like this. And here are some routes of residence which could be like during all the day. You can visit all the rooms you need, all different kinds of rooms. So when you live in this house of commune, you've got for your private just a small room, but you can use all the other rooms with different kind of function. It's like this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody want to ask something about this? Do you have questions? Yeah, again you. Okay.
So, did you start from the social function that you had a preconceived notion of the social function of the space? So you had a notion of how you wanted the community to interact, what the community looked like, and after that you designed the space. Or the other way around, you were thinking of a certain space and then you were thinking about which community would fit.
No, first we thought like how community could work. And how about some kind of different responsibilities and different, different kind of spaces, like private space and public space. It was two main words. And also semi-private, semi-public. But after we thought like, we can make this concept without any kind of looking on building, but also we've got this building. And how can we manage it? How can this concept work in this building? And we saw, yeah, we've got this corridor, and if we don't want to demolish a lot of walls and build some new one, how can we manage it in this space? This is why we also work a lot with building we've got. So it's special for this building, with this enfilade of different rooms and this corridor for some private rooms. Yeah. Did I answer? No?
You gave an answer as if a particular building gives a particular mix.
No, first
allows for a certain mix.
First we started from like a concept of commune, but of course, if it was a project of reusing of this building, yeah, we worked with this building. How we can do in this building exactly?
More questions? No? Yeah.
Now this concept is developed for -30 and 60 up. Could this work for groups from 30 up and 60 up? So like the elderly people would take care of the children during the day, and at night the 30 up would help the elderly with internet, changing clothes, whatever.
Yeah, we also thought like it shouldn't be like if you're 30 plus and 60 minus, you can't live here. Yeah, but also before we ask some people to ask some questions, and these people are from different ages. You can find these results here in magazine. And when I asked some people who already got a full family with children, most of them answered like first. When you get a family, it's more important for you to spend more free time from work with your family, but not to communicate with other people, because you need some more personal space, and you need more possibility to communicate with your own family, because it's also so hard to find some free time, to communicate with them. And also, some moms answered like, I've got small children, and I've got experience like. Because we asked them if it's possible when your children will live in some room with other children from other family. They can live together, but she answered like, I've got some experience, and it was like, when you've got a small child, it can be like, usually it can become sick, and if one child is sick, so it's like, a disaster for all other child. That's why it's not so good, she said, because I don't want if my child will all over the year different kind of aches and so on. I don't want for my child. But maybe it could be. And a lot of people say like, of course it's really good idea, and I would be glad if somebody will take care of my child because a lot of people. So as I told you, they have to work a lot and something like this to earn money, maybe, and of course, child, it's really good when somebody could take care of your child. But so you can find some different answers, and of course, people are so different. So some of them are ready to live in commune house in different periods, but some of them are not. But depend on people.
Okay, Victoria, was, as I have understood, you first did some interviews with people to understand how community can work and what they want in the community. When you finished this result and research, have you talked again to these people and asked them how they see this project? Is this the idea they have of the community life? And that's one of the questions. And the other is, I was wondering, it is semi-public, as I understand, the bigger rooms. Yeah. And can someone close one of the rooms or not? Is it really 100% open all the time?
Can you turn it to sound? No.
Point it with your hand.
Oh,
that's what you mean.
Yeah. So What do you mean? What this place? Oh, this.
Yeah, there is, you have the
You mean this? I mean, we thought it could work like it's your semi-private space with your neighbor. But if you want to, first you can make like also private space here. You can put, wow.
Oh.
Wow. Sorry.
No, just go on talking. Just explain.
First, if you want to have more private space for you and your maybe your neighbors, or only just for you, you can put some kind of removing walls there, or maybe like shelves, and to not let anybody. Okay. Sorry. Also, it's like you can close these doors just to make your neighbors understand that you're not ready to communicate with them. You're not. You will not be happy if they will come and share the space with you in this day. They can go through maybe, but to not use this. I mean, like, to not come here and make a party here if you want to sleep and something like this. They just can go through. But we placed this corridor and these doors in the middle of these walls to make like, not people, to make, how to say, also to, not to force people, but to make people be ready to communicate more, to share more. When you go through, when you live here and you go through all these rooms, you meet a lot of people, you communicate with them. Also for the first question about this research, about these interviews, it was not like this interviews was pre-project. So we also asked some questions, asked some people with these questions when we did this project, I mean during the project. So I also explained them how it could work. I explained them if it will be good for you if you've got just 20 square meters for yourself, for your bedroom. They thought like, maybe not, maybe 50. And I tried to explain them how could it work. For example, if one day you can use this space just for you, semi-private space. But other day you can open the doors, you can invite everybody and make a great celebration, great party. They said, oh yeah, it's a really good idea, it could work. Maybe, yeah, it's really good. And also, for example, I asked some women if it's good for you to have just small kitchen in your room where you can have just kettle and some small things, but also very big room, a very big kitchen with all the needed stuff somewhere in the house. And if you want, you can come, you can make all things you can. She said, yeah, of course it's a good idea, because maybe just for me, really big kitchen, maybe it's also not so needed. But if someday I want to prepare something special and I can come, of course, it's a really good idea.
I have a question. Do you think that Russians in general have a lesser need for privacy than Dutch people?
Less? I'm not sure. Also for Russians, such a difficult question, because when I ask Russian about house commune, they first remember all the dorms and kommunalkas, something like this. And all of them say, some people from maybe 50 plus ages, they say, oh, I used to live in such conditions, I don't like it. And I can tell a lot of stories about how it doesn't work. Or some young people say, I used to live in some student dorms and also know how can it be. Yeah, some people say, maybe yeah, it could be, but I don't want if it would be like in that ages when I lived in Kommunalka. So maybe if you will read, maybe if you know something more about how Russians did used to live, and you will understand why do they not, they don't want to share a lot, because they know some bad examples.
So they probably have an even bigger need for privacy then, or?
I'm not sure if it's about bigger need, because maybe Russian people are not so ready for sharing. Yeah, because also.
Would you want to live in that house yourself?
It's also a nice question. When I worked on this project with SOPHIE, case I also told you, it was like during many evenings we discussed this and we decided how could it work. And when she first told me this concept, I said like, oh no, but no, I don't want to live in this. How can I do this project if I don't want to live in these conditions? That's why I decided to make these conditions way, if I also could live there, to make these semi-private, semi-public spaces which can be inverted if you want it. And also in the end it was like, it was 9 of us living in one house, 8 Russian people and 1 girl from Switzerland. Yeah, we shared a lot, and we also got some problems. But now I remember this time like really great time. We had a lot of fun, and we learned how to share, and we learned how to behave in this way to not make other people feel not good. It's a really good experience. And so in the end, I told Sophie like, do you know, I would like to try to live in this house. Maybe not like I can say I can live there about 5 years. Maybe for first time about 6 months. Yeah, just to try. How could it work? And she said, I'm not sure if I want. But in the end, she said also, I would like.
If you were Woonbedrijf, what would you do with the building? Because we have, I think, three options. We could either divide it up and just rent it out as little apartments, or we can combine 2 stories and make it one big house, or we could use this type of concept. What would you do?
So you ask me if I would.
Yeah. If you were me, what would you do?
It's for me, of course, it will be interesting, nice to see how could work this idea. How could it work, this concept, and maybe you've got some examples also how could work that first, two first ideas you told me about to make one big house and to divide it, but you didn't get such house. Maybe it's really interesting to try.
But
and
the other groups
work.
did the other 2 models. So we assigned this group on this one, just to find out which would be the best. So.
Well, yes, there is a tendency among young students to rent houses not by 12 by the students, but only 4. So there might be a relationship between private and public space sharing in the number of people who are doing it. Mm-hmm. Have you found such a relationship? Because that would answer a little bit of the problem.
So it's like a bit.
I don't know how many people are going to live in this one, but we have students in Holland who used to have big houses with 12 people in it, are now saying we only want a house with 4 people in it. So it might be interesting to see to investigate the relationship between sharing public and private space. In a way of 4 or 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, but about 4 or 5 people is quite usual also for Russia and for Dutch students. I talked with a lot of them here, and it's like how they used to live during many years when they studied in the university. Yeah, it could be quite comfortable. Yeah, if you know with whom you live, some friends you live with, it's quite comfortable for you. But it's some kind of another kind of relationships, of a way of living. But maybe you could try it also.
Okay.
I also have a question. Why is this concept so special for 30 minus and 60 plus? Because if I see it, I could also put only students in it or only elderly people. So why is it for 30 minus and 60 plus?
Oh, it's about sharing knowledge and some skills, something like this. It could be like maybe just 2 60-plus persons will live there, but maybe they will keep all the house. Or maybe a lot of 60-plus persons and just few 30 minus. And they will also, how to say, give more life for this house. It depends. So it's not like special 50% and 50%. It could be in different variations.
Yeah, okay, but don't the functions that are in the building have to do with the 30 minus 60 plus? Because I saw in your presentation, like 2 slides after that, that there is a presentation hall in it and stuff like that. Do those functions have to do with that concept of 30 minus 60 plus?
It was not like we decided to make some special conditions for different ages. We thought like if person did decide to live in this house, so the same conditions for everybody. It shouldn't be like if you're 60 plus, you need some other special conditions or to way of living. So it's like it's also not like to divide it for different floors. We've got 2 floors building, and not like one generation will live underneath. And yeah, so just to random all of the people to live together.
Yeah, and just I wanted to edit something to the question that occurred, and because I worked a little bit on the project too. So, and I think that this is 2 like categories of the people who really need that, because older people need support, they need help when they getting older. Maybe they cannot go to the shop or something like this, and young people can provide it to them. And at the same time, sometimes young people do not have very nice family, or sometimes maybe they do not have it at all, and they can get an experience from the older generation. They can like ask them an advice and to get the help from that. And as we found out, the like families, they don't really need that. They have their own family, they have their own private space, their kids, so they're like fully fine with their life. And this is the concept that people who need this. I think that's why the age is like this.
Okay, I guess we should go on to Philip. Maybe we can discuss this more later, because I can imagine a lot of people have questions about this, because I guess it's the nicest research that the students did, the nicest results, but also Geesterberg is important, I guess. What we can see outside here, outside this theater, is the built community, the built idea of what's nice for Russian people to know, that they go every weekend to the dacha. And we also thought about reusing this empty or this leftover window frames to build some dachas as tuinhuisjes. So to do the gardening in the leftover space near the neighborhood. So, but Philip, you had also a big role, I guess, in guiding this process. But of course, your own identity as former student and now your own company. I guess there are several relationships, but it's up to you to declare what you think it's important to present.
Thank you, Kees. Well, it's quite difficult to define my exact role in the whole process. I've been more or less an advisor for the collaboration with the Russians, and well, Kees presented. Kees presented a lot about Eindhoven, and that's a strong connection for us too. But for us, my talk is a little bit about architecture. One of the important things I think we talk about today is the difference between software and hardware. Because I think that's the change we're in right now. Hardware is the things you can measure. Software is difficult to measure, but it's very important. I'll come back to that later, but this is exactly what my story is about. I think architecture is about understanding of the world and turning it into a more humane place, and that connects to everything we heard so far. Does anybody know how this works? Yeah, so gewoon door. I think we have an empty battery here. Yeah, werkt dat? Okay, I can just swipe it. Yeah. These are 2 companions of me and myself. We started an architecture firm, and not because we have the idea about architecture that it's just creating space and we can do that as the same way other companies did it before us. But what is important for us is the difference I just mentioned between software and hardware. It's not about creating space. It's not about euros and square meters. It is about the human being inside of it, and that's why the project of the Russians was very interesting to me, because it's about sharing with the people around you. It's just 30 minus and 60 plus. It's a name they gave to the project, but it's not about the borders that they create with this name. It's about the possibilities you create with this project. And in an answer to the question to Victoria, if this would be the best solution, I would say yes, it is the best solution. But she had an answer to another question as well. It is not suitable for everybody. There are many people that are not ready yet for such a society. But please do it and show the world that it's possible. Show the world that some people really want to share a space like that. And make it public and show to other people that if it works, then I think they will be able to put themselves in such a situation. They can't do that as long as there's nobody that shows it. Well, perfectly. Well, this is what we try to do. We aim to find a balance in what we already have and what is present in our environment and what we need. Perfect. And it's about this change. This is the essence as well. It's about ego is on top. If we look to the past decades, and yeah, well, it worked, but not the way I wanted it. But it's about this change as well. We have to start seeing ourselves as part of the society and about our ecological background, and not as the top of it. This is the most easy model to show what's important in that, because you cannot forget the profit story. It's important to make euros because money still makes the world go round, and you need it. But it's about the balance between people, planet and profit, and that's the only thing that creates sustainability. But I talked about the change in society because one of the things I always try to explain is that we don't want to criticize the past. The past is very important because it brought us where we are right now. But there are certain models in the past. It's making me a little crazy. First, we had the industrial economy, and there, the only thing between industry and consumer is a commodity, a necessity. And that changed into the experience economy, where the brand experience is the link between industry and people. And right now, I made it in such a way that I could just click and an arrow occurred, but it's... Yeah, I thought this would... I'll try the swipe again. That worked. Beltjes. It's just... these ones. Oh, man. Yeah? They don't work either. Oh, man. Yeah, we do. It's still too big. Well, okay. The idea is, right now we are in the knowledge economy, and we see that all around us. We have a platform, and we are all connected to a certain platform. You can imagine it like everybody's reviewing everything, like books, like machines, like services. We're reviewing it, but that's the way it is right now. And we'll get to a next step. And what is this next step, and how does that connect to people? Well, in the near future, we end up in a transformation economy. And the idea of the transformation economy is that there is a global issue, and we are more and more aware of these global issues. like the transformation from ego to eco. And this global issue will have local solutions, and local solutions with people carrying those local solutions. So that means that we will change our way of working, and that's something we do in our office as well. And I'll just explain them in short steps, and then show you the project that, well, is the best example actually of that way of working. So like I said, we don't judge the past, we just study it. We focus on the software and let the hardware facilitate. You still need your hardware, you still need a building, but it's a different way of looking at it. We see collaboration as a start for success. You can't do things just by yourself, and you'll need the people around you. We prefer a low-tech solution for high-class problems. That's an important one, because we all around us we still see that many companies keep using technology as the thing to promote themselves. And I think technology should always be a tool and not a goal. Yeah, we only design what we would like to use ourselves. It's, I hope, very easy to understand. And the last one, we start with looking around us what we already have. We don't imagine the look of a project, but the look of a project occurs by combining the things we already have. And the things we already have, that's where our example starts, because we have many, much great heritage, just beautiful buildings all around us that are in many occasions not used right now. While on the other hand, we became more and more like a nomad. Working becomes more and more easy because we don't need that much. It's like a desk. This can be a desk, and a laptop is our workspace. So if you combine those two, there should be an easy solution. And we combine that with very cheap building materials. It's like low tech, very cheap. So it's about the human being inside it, and not spending a lot to create a beautiful thing. But out of that, we made this unit, and this is the example I mentioned. What we do with this unit is creating a space that you can put within buildings. That's very easy to put together, very easy to tear apart and put it in another building. So you create some kind of value, but the value is better understandable if you see the space that occurs and not the materials that are in it. And this is a space inside it. It's built out of the shelf system that you can get at any do-it-yourself store. And the flexibility is because of the fact that you can open those 1.5 facade of it. And that's best explained in this one. We have many empty office buildings right now. And one of the traditional ways to change the use of it is just make small spaces. And there is, most of the time, some shared space. And we try to... Yeah, nice. Thanks. We try to put it upside down and say, well, if you make everything a shared space, it's difficult because people need a change. But if you make everything a shared space, you can use everything you need, but you have to discuss it with the people you share your floor with. And you put those units in, so you don't add many value in the space as a matter of material, but you add usability. And everybody has one of those spaces, and everybody defines for themselves whether they open it or close it, whether they whether it feels if they are connected to the open space, or they're just closed for a moment and you have a meeting, a discussion, a phone call. It gives the floor space a very flexible outcome. Well, and here are some images of the pilot we built close by. So if you'd like to see it, feel welcome. And this is just to explain what the relation is with the people, planet, profit model. It has all in it. It's very cheap, and you keep the value. You don't add value to a building that is lost value because you have to tear it down, and the materials can't be reused. They can be reused, and you can reuse the thing itself, and you can reuse the materials. And every building considered lost becomes useful. If something will be teared down in 3 years from now, you can put those things in it and just use it for 3 years, and after that, just get all the value out. And like the people I already mentioned, it's the social structure that occurs means that the people work together. You can close your own space, but the basis of the idea is that you share, like, for example, a printer. You put it on the shared space, you pay it with 10 people, and you use it together. So you don't have to spend a lot of money, and every young entrepreneur can use this system together with many friends. So that was my presentation for this day.
Again, some questions. Yeah, you got one.
I'm going to ask you this question because it really stayed in my head. And I think you said it, but you don't mean it. But still, I do want to ask you. Do you really think that money makes the world go round?
Well, I hope it doesn't anymore.
No, but you said that, well, money makes the world go round.
I think it was a little too direct. You're right. There are many more forces that make the world go round. You're totally right.
I knew that you would think like that, but that's why I wanted to.
Well, I think that's the best link to the world we see. And the problem of society, one of the problems of society is, in my opinion, the fact that we are too addicted to believing what we see. Okay. And I think that's why most people think that money makes the world go round. But I said it to explain why profit is still an important, an important issue, an important thing to take into account. So don't take it too literally, that particular part. You're right, I think different about it.
Okay, gladly.
Okay. More questions? Otherwise Koi.
It's the same question almost about privacy. This is an office environment. Do you think this type of thing could also work in a living environment? Because then it could be close to the project that was presented before, where you have just this tiny little bit of private room for yourself and all this communal space. How do you think about that?
Well, it's a funny question because this project started as how do you say that? Prijsvraag. Daniel, help us. Yeah, it started as a design competition, and the question was, how can we live in an office floor? It translated into this because this is a lot easier because of regulations, but we like to see living rooms in these floors as well. And the thing we designed was on the same technical basis, but it had 3 parts. And the sleeping area was, well, actually the thing was you could close it on four places. And the back side was very closed, and more to the front. It was far easier to open. So it means that I think that if you have the possibility to define whether parts of your area to live in are part of the communal space, if you can define that, I think it is good possible that most people share half of their space, as long as they have the possibility to close it.
What should we do with all these family houses that we have in Eindhoven then?
That's a good question. I can help you design them.
I bet you do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Maybe the next speaker. Art. In the meantime, I just was thinking about how we are sitting here. We are sitting in between children playing and studying. People are working here, building up an exposition. I thought about Geesterberg. In the middle of Geesterberg we have KARKH. In the 60s, the 70s, it was built to be used this way, but it wasn't possible at that time. And if I see now what's happening here, it's more or less an example how it can be used. So it's more a thought that it came up to me just why I'm sitting here and talking and hearing what's happening. I like this atmosphere. We talked yesterday about the new identity of the library. I guess what's happening here, children, people working, it's great. Well, Art, he is more or less in between a developer of a product, but also a user of this idea of 60 plus and 30 minus, maybe. But you have to talk about this and explain it, yeah?
Exactly, I will. Thank you, Kees. As Kees said, my name is Art Jacobs, and I am the creator of PILLO. PILLO is a new product that intends indeed to connect people of different backgrounds, people with different healthcare conditions and people with different ages. And it does it in a very, well, new and different way. So I'm going to show you a video at first how this PILLO works. High five. Ja, nou is hij weg. Wil je op scherm drukken? Yeah, so I hope you all got it. Basically what PILLO is, it's a game controller in a cushion. So that's it. What I designed with it is a game that makes two people, each having their own pillow, play together. A game where you're dependent, actually codependent on each other's movements and workings with this controller. And it kind of invites you to play with a cushion in a different way. So you can sit against it, put it between your legs and train your knee or leg muscles, or you can put it on your head or behind your head, or you can sleep on it. So all these things that kind of manifest sort of playful interaction with a TV screen. The reason I designed this is because I wanted to make a connection between two people via a game. I think that games nowadays are quite violent and quite extreme and yeah, all those sorts of buzzwords connected to gaming. And what I feel is that we should connect more on a human level and together in the same space, basically. So that is why I designed PILLO, but at first I didn't see as much the potential of this because I went on to a next project in the university. I did the education industrial design, and so in my master phase I did the next project. So this one was actually back in the closet, so to speak. So until I was invited to Indigo, and Indigo is one of the showcases where people, young game designers, can showcase their games, their innovative ideas about gameplay and interaction to the general public. So I was there. I asked my girlfriend to join me. She's also with us in this room, Laurie. And I asked her to come and show with me to the public what PILLO actually is, but she was kind of angry with me because I hadn't explained it to her. She didn't play it before, so she was going with me to this conference and showing PILLO without any prior knowledge. But as I unpacked the PILLO and gave one to her, and she sat on one of the chairs, and I said, she said, what do I do? I said, just press it. And I had the other PILLO, so we started playing PILLO together, the game. And after a few minutes, after a few seconds, she said, "Hey, this is fun. Does this exist?" I said, "No, well, yeah, I guess the first one who created this." And she said, "But this should be available to everyone. I mean, as I see what this does, we should do something with it." So me coming from a academic background, trying to develop the next thing which could possibly enhance people's lives, but then putting it back into the closet. And she was the one that came from kind of how do you say that, non-academical background. And she just saw what was already there in front of our faces, and she said, yeah, this should be there because I think this could help people. And all the results of this showcase for 2 days showed that. So together we started the journey, and we started this journey without any prior knowledge of how to market this idea or how to go into business, but we just said, okay, we're going to do this. And in the past year, we've met with a lot of people from healthcare institutions. We met mostly with a lot of clients of those healthcare institutions, patients who can tell us, this is what I like about it, this is what I don't like about it. So in kind of a response to also prior presentations today, what we found out, which was the best thing that we could do in this past year, is constantly iterate with the people who are going to use your product, whether they're going to live in your house or whether you're going to design a product like this, because those are the people that are going to use it. And if they don't like it, or if they have a lot of remarks about it, they will eventually not buy it. So make sure to I don't know, what we try to do is make sure it fits those their criteria and their interpretation of fun and their lifestyle. And in the end, what we did is we built we had a symposium arranged, because we thought there are so many people throughout the whole of the Netherlands that are interested in PILLO and what it does and how this innovative idea could connect people in all sorts of conditions. So we said, instead of going to all these people, because we got a lot of emails asking us to come and play PILLO with their clients and stuff, so we said, okay, let's organize a symposium and let's do that also differently. So the first thing that Laurie had an idea about the symposium was we should do this in a church. We were looking at a church right from where we live, across the street, and this church is half in use by a child. Chinese. No, the Don Bosco Kerk, which is the daycare, anthroposophical daycare for small kids. Exactly. And the other half is empty. So we thought, okay, we started to look up what Don Bosco does, and Don Bosco was, in fact, one of the people that kind of had a different idea for how a church should be used as a center for people in the neighborhood, to especially youngsters from a Muslim background, how they could be introduced into the community as well. And that was the idea of Don Bosco. We thought, okay, I think we should do something with this as well. And Laurie went on a quest to make this happen. So we called the architect of the church, and we asked him, okay, where should we start? Who's it from? And now we are in negotiation. That's where we actually met Kees. And now some things are happening with that church, but at least we wanted the church for this symposium. So the architect knew a different church, which is the Fatima Church, also close by. So we thought, okay, what the hell? Let's just give a symposium in a church, because it emerged like that. Well, and here you see some people playing PILLO in that church. And the funny thing was that nobody actually thought it was weird nobody actually thought it was weird to have a symposium for a game product in a church. Something to do with healthcare didn't really matter. The funny thing was it was actually the Chinese Christian church that was already owning that church. So there was a lot of just coincidences, different things going around there, and it all made it only better. In order to again improve our product, we made sure that we had some brainstorms during that day with those professionals, those specialists in healthcare. So how should we continue with this project PILLO? And what I really wanted to point out basically was this was our team. As you can see, those are people from all different age groups, all different, well, backgrounds. And the funny thing was that I am not very much of a sharer, and I wanted to organize it all by my own because I thought this is important and that is important. And Laurie said, like, no, this is important and that is important. So we kind of argued all the time about how we were going to do it. But one thing she taught me over the last year was that I couldn't do it alone, because what I had to do for this symposium was only to finish 6 pairs of prototypes of this pillow, and they were not working like 15 minutes before we launched that day. 10 minutes before they did it, but it was pretty late. And in the meantime, she had arranged this. So, of course, we did that together. But the most important thing is, that's why I wanted to show this. We arranged this symposium, and there's a lot of feedback from that. We're going to soon do a game jam in kind of the same way. But the most important thing about this symposium was that we did it with 0 money. We had sponsors. We had those how do you call them? Like those fat boys, but then from Sit and Joy. They were sponsored, 96 of them for this church, for our event. We had the Lindenhof, which is a Michelin star restaurant, who did part of the catering for that day. We had people that served the wine for free. We had, what else? A lawyer company. Yeah, we had someone that made a movie of that day, all for free, and they just wanted to help us because we started an initiative and people just cling on to what we were doing because we let them to. So, yeah, I think in response to today's topic, what I wanted to say is that I think initiatives, social meeting places, share economies, I don't know how you want to call them, but they just emerge. And I think we should but just do, instead of thinking and talking about what we want to achieve, because it will emerge. And I really think that this will also happen for example, the library. I think we can guide it. I think this meeting is important because we share all those ideas about it, and hopefully there will be some people between us that will just pick it up and go ahead with it, because that will drive us further into the future. And we can't predict it, but it will just emerge if we let it to. Thank you very much.
Okay, some questions about this? Otherwise we will continue with ROCCO. Okay, well, ROCCO, you are the final one of the presentations. ROCCO, yeah, how should I explain? Maybe the nicest thing to tell is ROCCO is a, well, I call it social design, but maybe he will explain it more. But the fact is that he introduced, let's say, a big event in the name of the 2018 celebration. We were still in the idea to become a cultural capital in 2018, and he organized a beautiful event. It was half a year ago on Stripe S, and the idea was to connect people very soon, very immediate, through the internet. And what he did was, people that entered the event, asked them to put the signature on a paper, and what happened was he asked some people to scan this signature, to send it to some designers all over the world, and to bring back within an hour that signature, but then designed by another designer. So to connect two people, yeah, to connect two people using a signature and using internet. I hope it still works. Yeah, you can put it off. Yeah, we will try. I guess it's proved for that, but we'll see. Well, this is an introduction to ROCCO because he introduced, let's say, the connection between me as a visitor and Sophie Steinemann. She came here as an interner during the summer from Switzerland. No. She was not able to come. So we would like you to meet her again to try. Yeah? Oh, that's great. Well, maybe you can explain this more. Okay, yeah, because that was the reason. We call it social design, to connect people through the internet within the hour. People that didn't know each other before. We spoke into a video to present ourselves, and that video was also used, as I understood. But it's more for him to declare and to explain what he did, but only the idea. As a social design idea to connect people through the internet, I found it very beautiful. Within the hour, we had a lot of connections, so we started up the meeting, and after 1 hour meeting or 2 hours meeting, we had a lot of connections, and people reacted very nicely on this. Okay, now it's always difficult to find out about this internet. But I think ROCCO he graduated already more than 5 years ago, I guess. And he will explain how he graduates, because it's also about people and not about buildings, not about bricks, it's about people. Connect people in the neighborhood or elsewhere. Good.
The mic?
Take this one,
Yes. Okay, thank you for being here. That's true, I'm ROCCO. Let's see. ROCCO VERDULT, and I graduated at the Design Academy in 2008 with a project which was called Temporary Meeting Places. And after that I started my own little design studio, my company, specialized in design for the gathering of people within a specific context. So my material is not bricks or wood or plaster, but my material is people, human. That's the thing that inspires me, and I want to use people in my projects to start with. But first I want to show you some pictures that I made. I make a lot of trips, and I travel around, and during that I make a lot of pictures of the human touch in the city and the behavior of human being. And I will show you some examples, and then I start showing some work of what I did, and also the project Kees was talking about. So first, this is a picture I made in Praha. The thing here is that you see two homeless people sitting on a bench, sitting or laying on a bench. For me, it's interesting to see a man and having his socks almost out, with his feet on the ground and sleeping, and the woman is sitting there and is wearing high heels. So that's strange for me, being homeless and wearing high heels. That means that for her it's more important to have elegance than being practical walking in the street. Or yeah, it's not handy to walk with that, especially when you see that one of the heels is higher than the other one. So that is really strange. So then you see that the men are not really, they find it not that important to show elegance of or being clothed well than women. So for me, that's the inspiration. Next one. This is also interesting for me. I saw this guy walking on a market, and then I saw him with these bags, which are the bags from the market. And with a coincidence, he was wearing almost the same shirt. So for me, he looked like a football supporter or a mascot of a football team or something. And he doesn't know that he's wearing this, and it looks a bit funny. So that inspires me a bit. This is a third one. It's a picture I made in Sao Paulo. I was walking there, and it's a strange thing what I saw. I don't know if you see what I'm seeing here. I saw this house and I saw the fence, and then I thought, like, what happened inside of the house? The man told the wife, maybe, I'll bet you the car will fit in our garden. Because what he did, he transformed the fence in another form, so the front of the car still fits in the garden, otherwise the fence couldn't close. So that for me is really interesting, that you see the entrepreneurship of just people organizing their own household in different ways. And this is in Sao Paulo. And the other thing which is interesting is that publicities in Sao Paulo were taken out of the streets, except for the publicities. It's a decision made by the government. Only the publicities of Christian texts and so on about Jesus and God, they're still allowed to be in the streets. The other thing is, in Holland, this is never possible because homeless or people with a handicap or in a wheelchair cannot pass by. So, but you can see, in Sao Paulo, they have other problems. Okay, this is my first project I want to show you. This is a climbing frame, a jungle gym, standing here in Woensel West in the Edison neighborhood. And when I saw this, I thought of transforming it into a tent, because when I saw this, I thought, like, it looks like a nomad tent or a teepee tent. So the next day, I started with some film with the foil I bought at a shop to wrap around the frame. And after a while, there were people coming and asking if they could come and sit in my tent. Some Kurdish and Turkish people, they were playing football, and they asked me, can we chill out in your tent? So I said, of course, this is the place where I wanted you to be, to sit and to talk about the problems in the neighborhood, and if there are projects to be started that could be a bit like this. And we had a really nice conversation all night, till 12 o'clock in the night. And when I said, like, okay, guys, I need to go because I'm hungry and I built this tent all night long, they said, like, no, stay here. I'll get a pizza at the corner because my dad has a Turkish pizza restaurant. Another guy went to get some beers. So people really got involved in the project and made it happen. As you can see in this picture, so this was the transformation, only temporary, of a climbing frame into a nomad tent. Next one, this is a garage here in the front of this building. It's in the city center, and normally these entrances of garages are a bit like non-spaces. They're like oxes of the city, I see. There are like leaves and like trash cans or like drink cans. And when I saw this, I thought, like, maybe I can organize an event just using that space. So I thought of making a theater of it instead of being a garage. So I went to the owner of the garage and asked him for the keys, and he gave me the keys, and he arranged that everybody got out, all the cars got out of the company, and then I made little benches just specially made for that ramp, specially customized for it. And that evening, I organized a jazz concert, an experimental jazz concert by some guys with a saxophone, a trombone, and a guitar. And it was a really nice evening. And people who were passing by started to sit there, and the sounds of these instruments really, how you can say, they waved through the street here on the other side, and also climbed up to the tall buildings which are here. And as you can see, this is the total image of it. So I transformed a normal garage into a temporary concert. This is the project Kees was talking about. So after all these years, after now almost 5 years, I'm having my company. I was asked also to make a concept and an interaction possibility for important people who had a meeting last year, like directors, curators, museum owners. They had a meeting about becoming cultural capital in 2018 with the city of Eindhoven, and they asked me to do something special for them. So when they entered the building, so all the guests entered the building, we asked them to put their signature into a square, a little black square, and we said, after an hour you'll see what we do with it. So then they had the meeting and the whole conference and presentations. And after that, here you can see the map of the people we got involved. So we asked 100 European artists and creative people to be prepared and sit 1 hour behind their desk, behind their computer. Then we scanned in all the signatures, we scanned them and we send them by mail to all the creative people in front of their desk. And we asked them to send it back within an hour. So after an hour we got all the results and then gave the results in little envelopes to the people who visited the whole meeting as a surprise. So what you got is here for example, this is a signature of Kees. So this is the first one I want to show. This is what Sophie STEINEMANN, she's not here now, but yeah, she gets famous by not being there. So Sophie STEINEMANN, she's from Switzerland, from Basel. She made this remake of the signature, and the whole concept started for me when I was asked for this. It started with me with the play I always did with my aunt when we were bored or when it was raining. She just started to make a little, I don't know, we called it kriebel krabbel. She made like a kriebel, and I had to make a krabbel of it. So just interpret the form you see and do something with it. So this was the remake, and then Kees Donkers an hour later got the results in an envelope, with also the information of the artist, so they get connected and can send an email or something to each other. Next one. This is a Dutch example. Friend of mine, a product designer, and he made of this signature a guy sitting on a bridge having some fishing time. And it was sent to Inge Stegeman, which is somebody of the province of North Brabant. And yeah, so they got connected. This is another one. This is from Anna Pankovskaya from Russia. She's from St. Petersburg, and she did a remake of Irma Galama. Next one. A Dutch, another one. You can see how it was really nice because we have like 180 signatures remade now, because it was an exhibition now standing everywhere in Brabant. And you can really see the differences between countries, how they look at a signature. A lot of Russian people just start drawing, making leaves next to it and butterflies, and the Dutch people really make concepts of the signature. They really think of, I want to be original. So these guys, you know, they did something. Yeah, they made like a logo for the person who started with an M, and Maaike Verberg is Maaike Verberg. So everybody did something else with it. This is somebody from Yekaterinaburg making a nice drawing around the signature. This is also a Dutch guy who he got famous with this little doll. He made a really beautiful animation about his function as a designer. It was a really beautiful movie. You can see it on internet. And I asked him also to do something with it, and he really surprised me. Just putting the signature on the desk of the little doll is beautiful. And so they got connected also. And then I want to show you a project I did last year, because I didn't want to speak too much about Signature Europe, but more about a project I did in a neighborhood, not with bricks, but with the people. I was asked to do something with the neighbors, because this neighborhood was an old Philips neighborhood, and it was renovated for 10 years. So there was a big transformation in the neighborhood. People had to move, people had to rethink if they want to come back because they got old. So is it logical to go back in my house and need to buy new stuff and new furniture? So the whole neighborhood transformed, and there were new people coming in. So there needed to come a new identity. And I was asked by Woonbedrijf if I could do something for that neighborhood and think of a concept to get them connected together, to improve the social cohesion in the neighborhood. And I hope the movie can start now, because I want to show you a movie about the project I did with the neighbors. And I hope, the technical guy Art, I ask you officially to maybe start a movie that's in the same folder. it's this one. 27. Okay. I hope there's sound. Yeah? Okay.
Er was dus een wijk in Eindhoven.
De Barrière.
De Barrière is de beste wijk met een hele mooie speeltuin die al jaren op staat.
In de speeltuin is het nu nog wel een beetje leeg. Maar we bouwen wel veel hutten.
En daarmee kun je heel veel leuke vrienden maken.
Een van die vrienden is een kabouter. En die kabouter woont in een hut.
Zomer en zeggen wel witte kleren aan.
En in de winter heeft hij klompen aan.
Maar hij is niet het enigste kaboutertje in die tuin. Vanaf het hoogste punt hier in de wijk zie ik elke dag kaboutertjes lopen in de speeltuin.
Maar ik geloof niet in kabouters. Wat ik wel hoor en zie, zijn vogels die fluiten en vogels die vliegen.
En om nog een keer op die kabouters terug te komen. Ik zou willen dat er hier wat meer kabouters in mijn tuin zaten die mij mee konden helpen. Dit is meer van de afdeling spaaien en spollen zonder trollen. Oh. Eucalypta. Wakker worden.
De kabouter houdt van graven. Dat doet hij in de zandbak.
Op een dag graafde de kabouter een gat. Richting Aquabest. Om zo uit te komen op het dansfeest. Want hij had geen kaartje.
Hij is aan het graven, aan het graven, aan het graven en op een gegeven moment komt hij bij de lichttoren uit.
Er zit een kaboutertje hier in de speeltuin.
Ja.
Die komt af en toe naar buiten.
Ja.
En die houdt van graven in de zandbak.
Ja.
En nou, hij heeft geen kaartje met Aquabest gedaan om dan naar die danspark te gaan. En daarom gaat hij een gat graven.
Oh, en dan komt hij
maar ja, helaas komt hij daar niet uit, dan komt hij uit de lichttoren.
He looked around and decided to steal my bike.
Mijn fiets stelen, dat mag helemaal niet.
Hij gaat een stukje fietsen. Tot ziens.
Hij fietst over de Bosdijk en in de vecht hoort hij een sirene.
So as you can see, there was the first episode, and I'm going to show you the second one, and then we can talk about it a little bit.
De kabouter raakt aan paniek, kijkt om zijn schouder, maar het blijkt een ambulance te zijn.
Hij voelt zich fantastisch en denkt, wat kan mij gebeuren? Ik heb kuilen gegraven, fietsen gestolen en ik bereik mijn doel.
Ja, maar wat is dat doel eigenlijk?
Dat is om de saamhorigheid gezelliger te maken en een leuke wijk van te maken hier. Want de wijk Barrière, waar hij dus in principe woont, hij kan er overal naartoe vluchten. Maar dat is toch waar hij zijn hart heeft zitten.
Een kabouter die steelt en wel samen wil spelen, ja, die moet eigenlijk gewoon terug naar school.
Op school leer je samen delen, samen spelen. Dus ik zeg, kabouter, terug naar de basisschool.
Maar dan heb ik een klein mannetje op school. Dan doet hij gewoon hakken aan. Dan is hij een stuk groter.
De kabouter fietst naar zijn hut in de speeltuin. Bij zijn hut aangekomen zet hij zijn fiets tegen de hut en gaat naar binnen. Hij laat zijn vrouw zijn nieuwe schoenen zien, de hoge hakken die hij meegenomen had. En zegt tegen zijn vrouw, vrouw, je zou me best kunnen belonen en ik heb wel een beetje hoe je dat zou kunnen doen. Waarop zijn vrouw zegt...
Hey, breng die fiets eens terug.
En voor straf loop jij op die hoge hakken terug naar huis. Kabouter gaat akkoord met zijn vrouw, trekt de hakken aan, maar wil er ook nog graag een jurk bij aantrekken.
Hij gaat naar de klerenkast van zijn vrouw, maakt hem open. Hij ziet een bloempjesjurk, spijkersrok. En toen ineens zag hij naast zijn klompen...
En dan ziet hij iets liggen. En dan kijkt hij zijn vrouw aan en zegt hij, waar ligt hij? Ja, een baby, jouw zoon. Mijn zoon, ja. Want in de tijd dat jij weg was, heb ik een baby van jou gekregen en dat is jouw zoon.
There's 3 slides more after this. But so as you can see, what I did instead of doing a project with the bricks or with the surroundings or the public space, I just went from door to door and just started to speak with people and ask if they wanted to submit a sentence, just a made up sentence to the story which we were making. So. We filmed like 10 days. We went into the neighborhood, and every day we filmed maybe 20 people or something. And then the next day or 2 days later, we put the episode on the internet, so people could see themselves in the episodes, and also could follow the rumor of the neighborhood. So people had the influence. Normally, the story changes, and it's not right to talk from one ear to the other and say, yeah, you heard about that wife living on the corner. Now they could make the rumor and just like use fantasy or being with the feet on the ground saying something normal about the midget or the gnome, which was like all made up in the story. So this guy who started the gnome story was really adopted by the rest of the neighborhood, and this way people got to know each other in a new way, because if they see each other in the neighborhood walking with the dog or something, they only say hi or bye, but now they can really see the humor people have in another way. So they really got connected together, and it's still on YouTube. You can see all the episodes. It's 8 episodes, and I'm really proud of it. Now, is it already finished? Because I live over there. You live there? Yeah, okay. What did you say? I live in that neighborhood just around the corner. And did you see it already? No. Why not? Everybody knew it. You got invitations written by the gnome. I put in your door. Yeah. Okay. So that was the project. Then I have a last photo I want to show you, and I hope that you see something strange in this photo. It's a picture I made in Hungary. So if people see something strange, just tell what you see. It's about looking on a different way to everything.
Volgens mij, I think the garage, it's not really a garage. It's painted on the garage door.
It's like a poster. So it's a bit strange, because I was just walking in the neighborhood and then I saw this and I thought like, why is he putting the car aside to the path and then also having his motorcycle there? He wants to show his motorcycle. And then when I looked good, I saw it was like a foil or a film. It's just printed on a screen and just put there. So it's so interesting that somebody does that. Why? He just doesn't have a motorcycle and he wants to have one. Does he want to pretend he's cool or a rough guy? Or does he change every day another screen? So maybe he has also 2 sons of his playing ping pong inside the garage. You don't know. So I find it really interesting. So thank you very much. This is what I do. I do everything with people. That is my material, and I want to get them together. And you can see everything on YouTube. So thank you very much. And if there are questions, you can ask.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I would like to ask everybody that spoke to come to the front, because I think we could have the last quarter of an hour to put some other questions, because we did already ask a lot, but especially Koi, but also Laurie. Maybe you can join me in asking people, yeah, because, well. Yeah, okay, yeah. Why we want to close at 4, of course, because I told you we have a schedule for today. But maybe you have some first questions to them.
Whoa.
Because, I know you are into the project of the church, of course, so you're more or less a user of what we spoken about, but the last part of ROCCO is especially about people.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. But well, we could also put some questions to the people over there, because we have heard a lot of stories today, but maybe you have your first reaction on it, and you would like to ask them.
Well, first I have to say that I love the project from ROCCO with the movies. I really like it. I really like everybody participating and doing their own thing. What would be my question for you is, well, maybe it's funny sitting there together, like all different type of background. How would you guys create your own perfect commune here in Eindhoven?
Maybe starting with ELENA, because you lived for a while in a commune.
Yeah.
You did. Only for 2 months, but...
for 1 month.
Yeah, for 1 month, okay. Well, your experience in that, because, well, Vika told about it.
Yeah, Vika told about this, and she also mentioned that it was really, firstly, difficult, but then it was really amazing. We learned a lot, but it was, for the first time, sometimes it was really difficult to communicate with people from different backgrounds, to find like points on which we can work together and so on. But then after learning, like by doing, you're trying to be more careful about others. You're not thinking only by your own. You start to think that, of course, I prefer to do this, but the people around you also have their own preferences, and you should take it into consideration. So that's the most important point. You shouldn't forget about like people around you and focus only on your own. I think that's the main thing for a community.
Okay, yeah.
Is that, did you experience that while you were working in the barrier?
What exactly then?
The fact that if you are joining people in a story about the gnome, did it result in a gnome community?
In a gnome community, wow. Yeah, people were talking about it and could share something which they made up. So there was this story about the gnome. So when we were filming, sometimes a car passed by and then somebody opened the window and said like, I'm waiting for episode 4, how is the gnome and the sun? So really people were talking about it, and I didn't know how it would end. Nobody knew how it would end. So that made like the feeling of being together and being connected with one unique project. So I really felt like a mental community, actually, yeah.
So it doesn't need to be a physical community, it also can be a mental community. Is that?
I just made up the word now, mental community, but yeah.
Sounds good.
Mika, because he also lived for a while in this community. You explained a little bit in your presentation.
Yes, community is not so hard. To live in commune is not so hard. Of course, it seems to me it will be very quite interesting to if more different people will live in our commune with real different backgrounds. Not only architect, designers, and Elena is a bit with economical background, but some other also people with different ages. Yeah, it will be more interesting. I would like to try it, maybe.
And does it have an effect on the design of the area? Because I was thinking, it depends if you have a 30 minus 60 plus community that's made up of people of 3 generations, a family. They would they would use the area in a different way than, I say, for instance, a group of Buddhists that decide to live together. They would probably use another layout of a building. So is it, in your opinion, and maybe even another model, a model in which people actually provide services for the other for euros? That could also be a model. The younger people live for a lower rent than the older people, and they in return they provide services for the older people, caring services, for instance, or the other way around. The older people live for a lower rent, and they take care of the children of the younger people. So could that, and it probably would reflect in the layout of a building. So if you look at the school that you just presented, would you think that different layouts are required?
Yeah, maybe so, and it could be like could manage like some persons will be the main in this house, like because some people really like to be like the main person in some comment. So they also can be like the real owners of house, and some other persons which are not really need to be like to have a great role. They just happy to live also here and to not think about a lot of problems, something like this. If they want, they can be in this way. And some other people can be like the leaders and have more space maybe, and to make more decisions about how this house could live. Yeah, so this also can influence on the layout of house.
Can I add something to that? Because I think it doesn't work this way. It's a good discussion, but one of the most important ideas about a community is that everybody has a voice and everybody is part of this community in the way it functions as well. So whoever you are, you can never define how a community works. You will need the specific persons in this community. That's why I said in reaction to your question, of course this will work, but not for everybody. And the only thing you can do is add a certain flexibility to make it suitable for more people. But it is those people will have to use it in a certain way. So you will never be certain whether they use a communal space or they just go to their own room. It depends on the people you choose and the way you get them enthusiastic to make the community together. It's about connecting them, and you cannot define it from outside of that building.
And then you have another problem, that is how you, what type of model you put under it for paying rent. Because I'm renting out space. So how do I start finding a model that would trigger that and
start with the people.
I know, but
find the first ones that want it.
Yeah. So
and low prices. Sorry, that was me.
Well, I think making the film was fun. Making the tent was special. You have a lot of estate. Open it up. Make a crazy thing about it. Make a tent of it. And invite people to use it.
Of course, we do all sorts of things like that. And if you look at Space S, another project that we do, it is actually very much that way. But if you look at the Dutch system for renting out property, you are...
Forget about it.
I know, but could you maybe come to talk to Minister Blok with me? It is very tempting to look at all these old buildings, because the school that we talked about is actually, if you look at the Witte Dame on the scale of Eindhoven, the school, the Sint Franciscus School in Doornakkers, is the Witte Dame of Doornakkers, and so almost everybody has been to school there. So it has an emotional value in that neighborhood. So that's the reason I don't want to use it in a very old-fashioned way by dividing it up into apartments and renting it out. That's exactly the reason why we are adding students and thinking about how could we use such a building, and are we looking at ways to find people, communities that are actually want to live there.
Well, my experience is, I was talking to somebody yesterday about it, but my experience is that if you got a building that already is degraded to a degree, right? Degraded, it's not up to date. Anyhow, what you then need is, you need in that community mix, you need just attract people with technical know-how and that can actually work in the building. And that's kind of, you need, first start with the people and then find what's your break-even point of the rent, what you want, and then you can get the mix in, like, well, what would save us money? People that work in it. And what you also see is that these people become part of the mix, actually, because people in the community look to those people, and that are also people that are sometimes a little bit more social, so they themselves become a de facto, like, well, not an alpha, but they function as such. Anyhow, that's practical.
I very much agree. The only thing I was referring to is that there's all sorts of regulations in the Dutch law system. Even if it's the bouwbesluit makes some things actually almost impossible, which makes it very difficult for buildings like these to be preserved, and which is exactly what I want to try.
It's true. There are a lot of regulations. But the starting point is have fun in what you're doing, are going to do it, and find a way to get around the regulations. Exactly. Because the same happens with collective energy systems. It's almost forbidden if you go to the regulations, but it's happening because we're doing it. Yeah. And now the regulations will be smart.
I think behind this table there are only people who want to break down these regulations.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not as if I'm an advocate for them.
Yeah, but if you start, regulations will be proven useless.
And I was the other day in a caring home because I was testing my pillow with people with dementia, and I heard that in this caring home they're gonna. How do you call that? Like healthcare insurance is not going to cover their staying costs anymore. So from next year, I believe they're going to pay 2,200 euros on rent just for being there. If I'm a young person and I live with my girlfriend in a house that is big enough, I would take that person in. I would kind of, even if I was like, if I would have a job and she wouldn't have a job, then this person could pay 2,200 rent with us, live in a kind of a family. She would take care of it. I do my other job, and I think that would be a very sustainable model, where those people are involved in society on the level that we are. We kind of take them.
And I think that's going to help in the whole transformation thing about thinking about privacy as well.
Yeah, but there again, the problem is going to be that maybe my girlfriend isn't allowed to take care of a person with dementia because she doesn't have the right. If we look at different countries more in the southern region of Europe, for example, Italy, Spain, Portugal, and I guess Greece as well, those people are just caring for their elderly. Without any regulation, without any bullshit, they're just caring for their elderly. They stay in the same place, and it's just happening like that. And I think what you're saying as well, I mean, I would do that with my parents. They live in Eindhoven, and I'm probably going to do that if they can't take care of themselves anymore. And this is how we're going to change it. So I guess it's just a matter of time.
And if you look at what we do in student housing at the moment, where we give when I was a student, I lived in a house with 6 people, 1 shower, 1 kitchen. Hardly any communal room. We all had our own rooms, but we ate in each other's rooms. If I look at how students live nowadays and what their demands are, if I talk to the Russians about that, it's a different world. It's a different world.
In what
they
sense?
sleep with 3 people in one room, and they don't have a problem with that. And I was thinking, if I would design something like that in the Dutch situation in Eindhoven, would I rent it out? And then you probably come to the point where you said money makes the world go round. It probably only would work, I'm afraid, at the moment, if they cannot afford it anymore, because they're quite used to having their own kitchen, almost. At least their own bedroom.
I wanted to say something about that student group, because for me that was very interesting when I met Art, because he has a master's study in technical university. Both my sisters went to university, me not. I have MAVO. And the funny part was for me that they're all smart, but in the most simple things, it's a problem. So I really think that if you would build such an idea, what you were just saying, Koy, then us, and I think the university people, I love all of them, and I love how their brains work and all that, but I really think it's this small group of that group we have that say, oh, well, I think I do that, and I can paint as well, so give me a brush.
And the university students will follow, I guess.
Like you.
Yeah. I would love to add because I would love to add because I'm living in such situation in Russia, in dormitory with 3 people in the room, and you said that it's not a problem for us. In reality, sometimes it is, because we do not have our private space at all. And when we designed this house, we created a little piece of private space for the people, so they are not forced all the time stay in the same room. If they want to be private, they can do that, and it's resolve all the problem. I can guarantee that, because sometimes you say, oh, I want to talk Skype and I don't know where and it will not work in this way. It will work only if you are not restricted in the way you live. And like the concept for school, when we were developing it, it was main idea of the SOPHIE, and she's not here. So the school is like the symbol of knowledge. You said that everyone was studying there, the like historical aspect, and we was thinking like how to create the idea to like the follow up for sharing knowledge. And in school, it's like perfectly fit to new community for sharing knowledge, for living with each other, to provide an experience. That was the main idea firstly, I think.
Okay, I think you have to go at 4. You told me, but I think we have to finish right now. But I like to have some last words from people that would like to have the last word, because I like the proposal that we made. I like your reaction on it. I like the fact that it's in between the Russian and the Dutch culture, let's say. So much talked about last days in the news. So I like the idea to develop this more and more. So maybe it could be a pilot, this project, for the housing company to develop it. I would really love to see it. Yeah. So and maybe the city could see it as a pilot too, because in temporary situation there are not so many rules, I know. But you want to have the last word, maybe?
No, maybe I have also ideas about how to live together, because everything is changing. You can have your laptop on your knees and just do your work in the train, and couples, being in love, they both want to make a career, to be independent, so there's less care of the household, and bit by bit there are coming more older people, the gray thing, the more older people, and so sometimes I'm thinking like, when I visit my grandma, she's really happy to see me sitting in front of her eating what she made, and she has the time to make something really healthy, something good, something from the old-fashioned way of cooking, and then she's so happy for somebody passing by at her apartment or at her house. So why couldn't we combine that? Like, it sounds a bit rough, but maybe you could use older people as the new nannies.
Yeah.
So why we could take care of an old person just to look after the person when she falls or when she has to go up to the stairs, something like that. But she can just cook or do the, do the cooking, do the dishes, do the clothing, because they have time. They want to do it. They feel it's also healthy for old people to have something to do, just not sitting, being bored in front of the television.
Keeps your mind
Keep them,
fresh.
yeah. And if young, fresh people come inside every day saying, "Yeah, we did this and we did that," that's also could be a model to live, I think.
Well, I found out that you behind the table, you fully agree with this idea. So I'm happy that Koy is here too, because, well, Koy and the city department are more or less the creator of this opportunity to at least do this research. And I'm happy with the Russian students to come here to do this in this way that they did. And I'm also happy with their positive reactions on it, because they changed, let's say, in 1 month, their opinion changed a lot, I guess. They told us. So I guess the only thing we could advise the city is to continue this idea, this pilot, to learn from it. Because I know already some people, you asked me, if they do want to live there. Well, I know there are some people that do want to live there. And I think we should use this event to explore the idea, to find a group of people that like to do this. So, yeah?
I've already done an oproep, a request on the back of our Renters magazine, which is going out to 70,000 people in the area of Eindhoven. So I hope there will be a reaction.
Okay. Well, I think it's a beautiful way to end up this meeting, because it was announced as a sort of presentation of what we did last year. It's more that we present what we did last summer. But at the end, I think the result is perfect. And I'm very happy that we could present these results right now in this day, that there's so much commotion about the relationship between Russia and Holland. And I can see here beautiful results, bottom up, with people, because we are focused on people and not on anything else. So I'm happy with this result. And, well, I would like to invite you to have some drinks here first for the next half hour, because we have another beautiful event going to happen. Within half an hour, we have a fashion presentation of a girl from Belarus, and it's about multicultural presentation of fashion. So I should say we should stop for a moment to have a drink, and I think the parents of girls will also come here, so we have a lot of people to show and to see what's happening. So see you in half an hour. Yeah. Thank you.